Back in the early months of 2020, while the world was shutting down and people were learning how to live in isolation, Tiffany Haddish and Common found themselves growing closer. What started as a casual connection slowly turned into a full-blown romance that fans were quick to root for. The timing seemed almost poetic. Two celebrities navigating an uncertain world together, quarantining side by side, sharing laughter and inside jokes on social media. They were playful, open, and refreshingly normal for a high-profile couple. Tiffany wasn't shy about showing how invested she was. She often gushed about Common in interviews, calling their relationship the healthiest and most fun she'd ever been in. They shared lighthearted moments online, appeared on livestreams with friends like Dwyane and Gabrielle Union, and gave the public just enough glimpses to believe they were witnessing something real. For a while, it looked like Common had finally met his match, someone who could keep up with his wit match, his energy, and bring out his softer side. But as the months went by and the world began to reopen, cracks, quietly, started to appear. Busy schedules crept back in. Tiffany's filming commitments took her to different corners of the globe, while Common returned to touring, recording, and pursuing his own projects. In the beginning, they tried to make it work. FaceTime calls between flights, quick weekend visits, little reminders to each other that they were still in it together, but maintaining that level of closeness became harder with every passing week. When the split finally came in late 2021, Common described it as a mutual decision caused by their demanding careers. Tiffany, however, painted a different picture. She admitted the breakup wasn't mutual at all. It was more him saying, "I think this relationship has run its course," and her responding, "Okay, if that's what you want." There was no explosive fight, no scandal, just a quiet ending that left her feeling blindsided. She'd been ready to keep trying, but Common seemed to have already made up his mind. For fans, it was disappointing, but not shocking. Common had a history of short-lived romances, and while Tiffany brought out a playful, joyful side of him, it seemed he still wasn't ready to fully settle down. It was a reminder that sometimes, even when two people have genuine chemistry, timing and priorities can pull them apart. Tiffany moved forward, focusing on her career, but it was clear the chapter with Common left a mark, one that would resurface in unexpected ways when his next relationship hit the headlines. If you followed Common's career for any length of time, you know his dating history reads like a roll call of powerful, talented women in music, film, and sports. He's never been the type to keep his personal life completely hidden, and over the years, his relationships have been part of his public narrative, often celebrated in interviews, red carpet appearances, and the occasional heartfelt lyric. But there's a pattern here, one that fans have noticed and talked about for years. Common falls hard, the romance burns bright, and then often just as quickly, it fades away. Before Tiffany Haddish, there was a long list of notable partners. Back in the early 2000s, he dated Erykah Badu, a relationship he's openly called his first love. They were a creative powerhouse together, blending music, art, and style, but it ended in 2002, after about 2 years. Common has said the breakup hit him hard. He described being in a haze, struggling to eat, and feeling truly heartbroken. Erykah, on the other hand, hinted that infidelity may have played a role, suggesting that while she valued loyalty, she understood some men's instinct to chase. That subtle statement left fans wondering whether the split was as one-sided as Common often made it sound. Then came actress Taraji P. Henson, another high-profile match that had fans buzzing. The two kept their relationship relatively private, but once again, it didn't last long enough to make it down the aisle. Serena Williams was another name linked to Common, and their pairing sparked plenty of media coverage. They were charismatic, talented, and successful, a power couple in every sense. But like so many of his relationships, it eventually came to an amicable close. Angela Rye, the political commentator and activist, was one of his more serious relationships in recent years before Tiffany. Common has credited her with pushing him to grow personally and politically, and at one point, they even reconciled after an initial breakup. But even with a second chance, the relationship couldn't withstand the pull of their separate lives and priorities. Looking at the bigger picture, these weren't relationships marred by public blow-ups or tabloid scandals, at least not on the surface. Still, the frequency of his breakups created a reputation. fans began to quietly wonder if Common was simply a man who loved the thrill of connection but struggled with the permanence of commitment. His ability to move from one high-profile romance to another without lingering in public heartbreak kept the conversation going. And whether fair or not, that history set the stage for how people would view his next big relationship, especially when that relationship was with someone as beloved and visible as Jennifer Hudson. The whispers about Common and Jennifer Hudson started long before either of them confirmed a thing. In 2022, fans began noticing the subtle clues: paparazzi shots of them leaving the same restaurants, casual mentions of each other in interviews, and those just friend smiles that didn't quite convince anyone paying close attention. Neither of them rushed to address the speculation, which only made the rumors louder. By the end of that year, social media was already buzzing with the idea that something was brewing between the Grammy-winning rapper and the Oscar-winning singer. For a while, it stayed in that murky maybe zone. Jennifer was busy with her daytime talk show and music projects, while Common was juggling acting roles and music of his own. But in January 2024, the speculation finally came to an end. Common appeared on The Jennifer Hudson Show and made it official. Yes, they were together. And yes, he saw something truly special in her. It wasn't just a casual fling either. He described Jennifer as the person he could see himself marrying, calling her a prototype for the kind of partner he'd always hoped to find. That public declaration lit up the internet. Some fans celebrated the pairing, saying it was refreshing to see two accomplished, grounded artists find happiness in each other. Others, though, raised an eyebrow, pointing to Common's track record and wondering if history might repeat itself. The fact that he was suddenly speaking so openly about marriage, a topic he'd sidestepped in the past, only added fuel to the conversation. For Jennifer, the relationship seemed like a bright new chapter. She's always been careful about sharing details of her personal life, especially after enduring past heartbreaks and tragedies. But with Common, she appeared comfortable enough to let the public in at least a little. Whether it was red carpet smiles, casual date nights in Chicago, or the easy banter they shared on her show, it looked like something genuine was unfolding. Still, not everyone was ready to buy into the fairy tale. A small but vocal group online started connecting dots between the timeline of Common's split with Tiffany Haddish and the first sightings of him with Jennifer. The overlap, real or imagined, sparked rumors that maybe, just maybe, the relationship hadn't started as cleanly as it appeared. While neither Jennifer nor Common addressed those whispers directly, the speculation lingered in the background, waiting for any sign of trouble to bring it roaring back into the headlines. And that's exactly why, when the first hints of drama emerged, the internet didn't hesitate to dive headfirst into theories, receipts, and side comments, turning a quiet romance into the next big talking point. When news of Common and Jennifer Hudson's romance became public, a lot of people expected Tiffany Haddish to react with a sharp tongue and a few pointed jabs. After all, Tiffany has never been shy about speaking her mind, especially when it comes to her personal life. But what actually happened caught many off guard. Her reaction was gracious, warm, and almost disarmingly supportive. In interviews, Tiffany went out of her way to praise Jennifer, saying she loved her and wished them both happiness. She didn't roll her eyes, drop cryptic comments, or hint at any lingering resentment. In fact, when Common publicly declared that if he ever got married, Jennifer would be the one, Tiffany doubled down on the positivity. Exactly, she said. I hope they actually get married. It was the kind of response that left gossip bloggers scrambling for drama that simply wasn't there. This wasn't a one-off moment of diplomacy either. Tiffany's comments about Common post-breakup have for the most part been measured and good-natured. Sure, she's made the occasional lighthearted remark, like joking that if a man wanted to marry her, he could give her an apartment building instead of a ring. But even those quips were more about her sense of humor than any direct shade at Common or Jennifer. It's worth noting that Tiffany could have played this very differently. The timeline of Common's split from her and his early sightings with Jennifer left plenty of room for speculation. She could have leaned into that narrative, fanned the flames, and let the public draw their own conclusions. But instead, she chose a path that was more strategic and arguably more powerful, remaining publicly unbothered. Of course, the internet being what it is not, everyone took her words at face value. Some fans read between the lines, convinced that Tiffany's kindness was laced with a subtle sting. that her smiles masked a quiet sense of vindication. Others believed she genuinely meant what she said and had truly moved on. Regardless of which camp you fell into, one thing was clear: Tiffany wasn't giving anyone the messy soundbite they were hoping for. And that's why, when the first hints of trouble surfaced in Common and Jennifer's relationship, all eyes turned back to Tiffany. Was she going to keep it classy? Or was this the moment the gloves would finally come off, when whispers about trouble between Common and Jennifer Hudson started swirling? It didn't take long for certain corners of the internet to declare proof of everything they'd been saying all along. Screenshots popped up, clickbait headlines blared, and YouTube thumbnails promised the shocking truth about cheating, betrayal, and revenge. Tiffany Haddish's name was suddenly in bold letters, again framed as if she'd been dropping sly hints or clowning Jennifer from the sidelines. The problem, none of it was actually backed by credible evidence. The supposed shade attributed to Tiffany was often nothing more than recycled interview clips or out-of-context quotes from years earlier. The cheating accusations against Common relied heavily on speculation, anonymous sources, and timelines that were at best blurry. And yet, because those narratives fit neatly into the story, people wanted to believe they spread fast. Tiffany herself never accused Common of cheating on her with Jennifer, nor did she mock Jennifer publicly. In fact, every on-record statement she's made about the couple has been either supportive or neutral. But in the world of online gossip, the truth doesn't always move as quickly as the juicier version of events. A smiling red carpet photo or a polite interview soundbite doesn't generate nearly as many clicks as a headline claiming Tiffany gets the last laugh. As for Common, he's never addressed the rumors directly. Whether out of respect for privacy or simply to avoid adding fuel to the fire, he's kept his public comments focused on the positives: his admiration for Jennifer, his commitment to his work, and his carefully cultivated image as a thoughtful, grounded man. That silence, however, left plenty of room for the rumor mill to keep spinning. The reality is far less scandalous than the viral stories make it seem. No leaked text messages, no photographic evidence, no confirmed betrayals, just a lot of speculation layered over a relationship that, at least publicly, appeared strong. But in an age where perception often matters more than proof, even the flimsiest claims can take on a life of their own. And that's why the drama surrounding this triangle, real or imagined, kept building. It wasn't about facts, it was about the perfect storm of history, public curiosity, and the internet's appetite for a good celebrity plot twist. When you strip away the clickbait headlines, the out-of-context quotes, and the fan-made narratives, you're left with something much simpler and far less scandalous than the internet wants you to believe. Common is a man with a history of high-profile relationships, most of which ended quietly rather than explosively. Tiffany Haddish is a woman who experienced a breakup, moved on with grace, and refused to give the public the messy drama they were expecting. And Jennifer Hudson is someone building a relationship in the public eye while carrying her own history of heartbreak and resilience. The truth is, none of these three have played into the kind of celebrity love triangle storyline that online gossip thrives on. Yes, the timelines invite speculation. Yes, Common's dating history fuels certain expectations. And yes, Tiffany's quick wit makes her a prime candidate for sharp one-liners. But in reality, what we've seen from them, at least publicly, is a lot more measured, respectful, and human than the chaos social media has imagined. That's not to say there's no room for intrigue. Public figures know their words and actions are always under a microscope, and sometimes a raised eyebrow or a subtle remark can set off a chain reaction of theories. But more often than not, those moments are amplified and reshaped until they barely resemble the truth. It's easy to forget that behind the headlines are real people making choices about what to share, what to protect, and how to move forward after relationships end. And in this case, no matter how much the internet wanted a messy feud, the main players haven't given it to them. Instead, they've shown a version of adulthood that's far less dramatic, breaking up, moving on, and wishing each other well, even if the tabloids would prefer otherwise. At the end of the day, that might be the biggest twist of all. In a culture that craves spectacle, sometimes the real story is that there isn't one.